if you can resist that temptation and realize, God is still God, despite my circumstances, despite the life that I've been given,
right,
and continue to live with that type of gratitude and with a praise in your heart, then God can truly, truly use you. Yeah, I think I think it's so important that people hear from the childhood on up to what led to some of the, encounters that Sammy had, because that's what a lot of people go through. And it really frustrates me when people say that, everyone has the same ability for success, or everyone has the same, because it's not true. Some people are born into privilege, some people are not. And when you are a child who's born into a situation where you don't have either parent, how can you expect me to be as successful as someone who maybe is born into a healthy, whole, parenthood? So I think that we really, really need to have more empathy for folks, and realizing that, there's something that leads you to this lifestyle. Like I said in the interview, you don't just wake up acting this way or acting out. Like, there's something that causes that. He had to survive. That's all he knew.
It's a learned mindset. It's a learned behavior. It's like anything and everything in our lives, right? We learn from our parents how to be angry, how to be happy, how to be sad, how to be, giddy, or, how to be a criminal, how to be a drug addict,
Yeah.
how to have eating disorders, how to have anxiety.
Yeah.
These are things that are learned behaviors, and you pick up coping skills to just try to do the best. I mean, he's 8 years old. I mean, I'm sure he probably is most grateful with his children, and he stepped back and he can remember flashing back in his head at a time of when he was his oldest son's age. His younger ones are still 3 or 4 years old, but his older one, and just thinking like, man, when I was his age, my biggest worry was not what Jordans am I going to get, but where am I going to sleep? What am I going to do? How am I going to eat? Survival. It was true survival.
Yeah, and in turn, to be able to protect your children in a way that they don't have to think those type of thoughts, that has to be so rewarding. It can be scary, I'm sure, knowing where he was at that time, but at the same time, to be able to provide a different life for your children has to be such a good feeling. Like, he should feel like, man, like, give him his flowers now, because to be able to completely do a 180, like he said, and just live a life that he could have lived a life in prison. That could have been his destiny, for him to actually be able to go back as with a testimony, and to actually encourage other men that this can be your life as well, that this doesn't have to be the end all be all.
But the thing is also, like, I know he talks about his self-sufficiency and how he battles with that, but his self-sufficiency is also what allowed him to break free. Because we have to, at some point, faith without works is dead. We got to do the work. We have to put some work into it. And so, in the beginning, the self-sufficiency was to help him survive on the streets, because he didn't have anybody to go to.
Right.
And as a believer, to come out and still battle with the self-sufficiency, but in a different kind of way. I love Sammy, his humility. Very humble. How he'll sit back and he'll remember what has, God taken him from. What has God brought him through? I think so often, I know I'm not that great at doing that. I just want it now. I want to know, why are you holding it up? But to sit back, and he's kind of convicted me a little bit of saying, you need to take a page from his book.
Yeah.
And sit down a little bit and realize how far you've come, not because of you, but because of me with you. We have free will.
Yeah.
We have to still co-sign and agree with God that we're going to go where he's taken us, and it's sometimes, I know for me, a little bit hard. I don't always want to go in the way he wants me to go.
Exactly. And what I love about what so many of our guests say when we ask them, especially given as tough circumstances and what Sammy went through, do you resent God? And oftentimes they say, no, I never got to that point. And I was just rereading the story of Job this morning.
Right.
And that is the one thing Satan wants from us, is to get to a point where we curse God and die,
Right.
and I think that the fact that if you can resist that temptation and realize, God is still God, despite my circumstances, despite the life that I've been given,
Right.
and continue to live with that type of gratitude and with a praise in your heart, then God can truly, truly use you. Then God can truly, like, look at the way God's been able to use Sammy, because he didn't resent God. He didn't say, man, not everybody is born into a situation where their mom can't take care of them and you have to go from group home to group home. Why me, God? I resent you, God, but he didn't get to that point. And now God is able to use him in a major, major way. So I think that people like us need to reflect and think about the times where we're like angry with God or mad at God for our little problems. And it's like, man, I'm so grateful. I'm so blessed. And I'm so, just honored to have the life that I do have. God, you didn't have to choose me. So what do you want me to do with this life? Because I think that we are in a very give me society. We need to use the resources that we have and the lives that we've been blessed with to live a life on purpose, period.
So God's given me this word, and he gave me this word about waiting. We don't like to wait. That's a lot of our reasons. That's a lot of our problems with God. However, we don't have a problem waiting online to get our food. We don't have a problem waiting on in the doctor's office. We don't have a problem when it's waiting for an interview, getting our hair done, nail. Everywhere we go in life, we have to wait. But we don't have a problem with it. We don't complain. I mean, sometimes as New Yorkers, we kind of complain about, like,
especially now that everything's right at our fingertips.
Right
We expect that from God too.
But he's not a microwave God.
Right.
Not an Instapot, God. Like, it's not happening that way. And instead of begrudging, I know I begrudge. I murmur and I complain about, why do I have to wait? Why, like we talked about in the grieving thing, like, are you going to answer me when I need to talk to you? I don't want to have to wait. I want it yet.
Right.
But just waiting is a part of the scripture says, those that wait on the Lord shall be renewed. They shall mount up on wings of eagles, right? I think that's Isaiah something, 40 something. I don't remember. But, we get renewed in our waiting. If we just wait on some of the things, then we can, like Sammy said, reflect. And then you realize, I really have come a far way. And God really has, come through. And I think what it does, and like I think I got from him, was it makes you remember that this situation may not mimic exactly what I've been through then, but God came through me then, and that was a lot worse than where I am today. And so if he can do it then he can do it today, and he will do it today if I just wait.
If you just wait. Yeah.
And so
I think patience and obedience are the key words in all of this, because we can get anxious and want God to do this now, save me now. But our patience is really the preparation process, because whatever we're hoping for typically requires a lot from us. And if God didn't do the fine tuning during that waiting process, then we wouldn't be ready. We wouldn't be able to give it our all, So I think that's one of the reasons why we have to gain patience during the waiting process, and be obedient, because we can try to take shortcuts. We can be David, and do those things that are going to, take us off the path of our destiny, or we can be obedient which is so much greater than the sacrifice of whatever he's telling us to do. Because once we are obedient and we see the fruit of our obedience, then we can be like, okay, God, I get it. But it's like us in our flesh, in our human eyes, hearing a word from God and it not making sense to us can make it difficult for us to follow the path. But I think once we realize, you know what, God, you got a good track record. I'm gonna go ahead and follow you. Even if it doesn't make sense to me, I'm gonna be patient. Then you'll be able to see, okay, this is what it's all worth it. It's always worth it.
And I think the other thing too is something that we talked about on one of the episodes was the expectation part.
Mm-hmm.
We let go of the way we want things done in our time and our strength or whatever. That's where that's where the frustration comes. That's where the disobedience comes from. But if we just wait patiently and obedient when God says move, move, or don't move, sit still, then and just the expectation being that God, you do your will.
Yeah.
That's it. It's yes, I want this, but God, do your will. Your will is always, God's will is always better than what we, think that we want. Because we think we want something at that time, but we're not ready for it. And so if we get it, it's just gonna probably destroy us, or destroy our relationship with him. And it's that obedience, patience, and just being in God's will, trusting in him for his divine timing. Everything has a time, but the best time is God's time. He's never late, he's never early, he's always right on time.
Yeah.
And I think this was a right on time word.
Right on time.
Audience, for them to hear, where we are is in our society right now with all of prison reformation that's taking place, for people to see that looking at Brother Sammy, you would not think that he has been through the things that he's been through. And it just goes to show you that jail doesn't really have a type. It doesn't look a particular way. Most people associate jail with tattoos, and I don't know why, but that's just the maybe it's the cinematology way of portraying prisoners or something. I don't know, but that's not it. You've got people that are in three-piece suits. You got people that are standing up on altars professing God as, ministers and pastors, and they come in all different sizes, shapes, colors, socioeconomic backgrounds, and everything. And we, I think, as a culture and a society, really need to stop looking at it in the way when we started in the interview was it's for punishment. It's really for correction. And we really need to treat people in that way.
It really needs to be mental health professionals in the prison. It really pisses me off that we look at them at what they did without realizing what caused them to do what they did. Like if you're born in the situation that Sammy's born in, you tell me what lifestyle you end up with, and not saying that everybody will end up in that world, but chances are, and you look at the majority of the people, in prison come from poverty.
Yeah.
Come from it, like you said, it's survival. What they're doing is their method of survival, and so it's a coping mechanism. There's so many mental battles that people have that lead them to a life of crime that needs to be evaluated, and that's what the true correction needs to be. It needs to be a mental correction. It needs to be a mental correction, not just, oh, don't do that again or it'll end you back here. That's not going to get through to me if I have a mental battle that is bigger than me that I'm fighting against,
It's important, like you said, like he talked about, it's a culture. There is a complete, in this country, we have our culture that we're in outside of the prison. There's the army, there's the military. They have their own culture, their own way of doing things, right? And then there's prison and that culture. And unfortunately, that culture is not set up for people to succeed. That culture, look, Sammy went into prison for one sentence, got in there, got surrounded in the culture, and got convicted of another crime.
The fact that you
And
still
extended
have
his sentence.
access to drugs and other things of
Dealing
that sort
drugs,
in prison,
dealing,
and a lot of that is brought on by the law enforcers at work in the prison.
and they are corrupting the prisoners because they feel like they're not worth anything. They are no good to society. So
Let them take the fall.
Let them take the fall. Let me just use them as a scapegoat or whatever it is, you know. Don't get me started on that because I really have. This is why I joined Prison Fellowship to advocate for laws to be changed. And I'm really for the mentality part of, like you said, unfortunately, when inmates or prisoners or criminals go into prison with a mental state, they're not sent to to mental wards because they're overloaded. They don't have people, so they're sent to prison where they're not getting their proper medication. They're not being evaluated. The way that they deal with them is they put them in solitary confinement.
They're being abused, many of them.
And in solitary confinement, they're being abused. I have a friend who's serving a sentence, 25 years now. And I heard in a phone call with him last year, he was in solitary confinement and someone was screaming like blood curl screams. And I said, what is that? And he said, they're beating an inmate. There's no cameras down here, so they can't see what goes on down here. They said, you know, he's refusing to cooperate and do what they want him to do. So they're beating him. I'm like, oh my gosh. He's like, this happens all the time, you know. And unfortunately, prison system is a business. These are privately owned, some of them, privately owned facilities, and they make money off of this. And they make money off of the people that are put in there.
The more bodies
they get for the most ridiculous crimes, that it just doesn't make sense. That's why Prison Fellowship does a great job of going in with the gospel, going to Capitol Hill to fight and get laws like prison reform. You know, Second Chance Act is one of their policies that they helped get signed into place, where, you know, prisoners, when they come out, and that's one thing we didn't talk about with him, was it's hard when they come out.
You can't get a job.
Hard when they come out because they've been inside for so long in a different culture. So now when they come out, they serve their time, but they're still penalized for the crime that they did.
And then think about Sammy. You said he was, you know, sentenced when he was 19 and scheduled to come out at 30.
Right, because he also did the crime.
It's a whole nother world when you come out at that point. You know, by that time, you know, you didn't know how to use a cell phone or the internet. You know, like, these aren't things, you know, you might be exposed to it in prison, but it's a whole nother world when you come out here and you're expected to just go back out into, you know, civilization
and they don't
get a job when no one wants to hire you.
Nope.
You know, it's really, it's not built for success. Like you said, it's not built for people to come out better. It's for them to end up back.
It's end up back. And it's unfortunate, like, you know, like you said, like my friend who's in prison, he cell phone internet when he went in 1998 or 97 or whatever it was, he went in 93, I think he went in 96. He has no idea what the internet is, you know, or cell phone is.
Right.
We had beepers back then, pagers, you know. Now he is learning. Right now he's learning. They have given them tablets, but he still doesn't fully.
And then you want me to come get a job where everything is computer based, and I've never used a computer.
How am I supposed to learn? You know, the other thing that they do is when prisoners go in and they are addicted to drugs, they don't put them in a detox program or a drug program right away. My friend went in addicted to heroin 25 years ago. Just last year, they put him in for a program. He hasn't done heroin in over 20 something years. He detoxed when he went in the beginning, by himself. But now they have these programs that he has to meet as a criteria for when he goes to parole to be released, that you've taken the drug program, and
And
then
so
there's
they can say that they did what they were supposed to do 25 years later.
2 years before they're about to be released. And, you know, like Sammy talks about the gangs right now, the gangs are heavy in the jails, very big. And unfortunately, you know, they have their own freaking culture.
Yeah. And the
You know,
officers are involved.
it's so sad. I mean, I watched that Central Park. I don't know if you watched the Central
Oh,
Park
it's such a part
5.
five.
If anybody has not watched it, it is a hard watch, but it is a must watch. Like, I think kids in school, this is what they need to be watching. This is what they need to be learning
Mhm.
about, because it happens every day. And that was in 1992, I think, that happened. And it's still happening.
Yeah.
It's sad. And we have to know our rights, you
Mhm.
know. But so many things that he shared today, I know, and like I said, like, people, family members can be encouraged
Mhm.
to say, like, it can happen for you.
It happened. It's just like you said, it's a testament to never stop praying for your family, your friends who may be struggling or, in a bad situation, because it's that consistency, that consistent prayer that's going to pull them out. God can get to you whenever, it's never too late. So we need to continue to pray for our loved ones, because Sammy is a perfect testimony that despite of what you've been through, you can completely turn your life around.
Yeah, and maybe there was someone praying for him, I'm sure, but he
Oh, I'm
probably
sure.
know,
Yeah.
But like, even when he talked about just being in the prison and having to live amongst the people. I mean, what really shocked me was his plan to get out was to
And do the same
make
thing.
enough money. But that's the mentality. And what I love what he shared is that he broke the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Because he had cycled through from a young teenager, from a young kid to a teenager, and then to his young adult life
Yeah.
spent in prison. And he finally broke the chain,
Yeah.
broke the cycle of, this is not going to happen anymore.
Right.
To me and my sons,
Yeah.
my children.
Because that was all he knew. And like we said, it's hard to come out and find a job. And now you have a child to take care of. You're like, what am I going to do to make money? This is how I know, you know? So to come out with a new mindset, for God to do to change his mindset in such a way so that he could come out and be better. It's beautiful.
Like he even said, like, he didn't have an example. He didn't know what it was to be a father.
Right.
What to provide for some,
or to be a parent, period.
He was always taking care of himself.
Yeah.
So now he's got to supply for someone else. How do you do that when you never did that before?
Yeah.
It's only but the grace of God and through the wisdom and the love of God that just started showing him, like I was saying, like these breadcrumbs of, I mean, I just thought it was so powerful that the guard gave him the Gospels. Like, and how God had him collecting them.
Yeah.
What did he do with them? They were being given away for free. You can't make no money off
it. Nothing but God. Nothing
right?
but God.
Like
and I wasn't even planning to read them.
Right. And the books that he was given, he wasn't given Old Testament. He was given New Testament. He was given the Gospels, the book of Matthew, the book of Luke, the book of John. I think that is just even more powerful on how powerful the Gospels, the good news is. Like, look at that, the good news. And now he gets to go out and share the good news.
Yeah.
With
people that are like him, that have been in he's been in their shoes. So yeah, I'm grateful for this conversation, and I think it's something that needs to be discussed more, especially like you said, in light of where we are right now as a society. We need to talk more about prison reform and like actual real, like you said, correction. So
Yeah, one of the things that Prison Fellowship has, they have this whole second chance policy that Trump had signed before he left. But also, they ask that churches take on in the month of April to recognize that it's the second chance month. Because the problem that we find in our culture, in our society, is most people, again, think of people going to jail, being punished, they deserve it. They did the crime, they deserve it. They got found guilty, they deserve it. And to be done with them. And they don't deserve anything. But they're still human beings. There's someone's daughter, there's someone's mother, there's someone's son, there's someone's father, someone's brother and uncle. And so we, at Prison Fellowship, we ask churches to just do every Sunday or every other Sunday to speak about and inform the public about people in prison being people. They're still people. Because unfortunately, like you hear a lot of, when one person goes to prison, the whole family goes to prison. Or
Yeah.
sometimes the family turns their back on their loved one and they have nothing to do with them. And unfortunately, we shared about like law enforcement, they take advantage of that, and now we're having movies where they're starting to show, like Central Park Five, showing what happens. If you watch that series, the last episode 5, because I think there's 5 or 6 episodes, it's the last one. It'll break you. It will break you. And if it doesn't, something's wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
But it stuck with me, and it just killed me to watch this boy's story and to see what they did to him, because he was someone that struggled with mental health issues. And we talked about that earlier. But Prison Fellowship does a really good job of informing the public, because like I said, the public tends to forget that there are inmates in prison that are good men and women that have done stupid things because of survival mindsets that they just didn't know better. Mm-hmm. More so of that caliber and class of way of thinking than the person that there are the knuckleheads that, they go out there and they know what they're doing, and they just do it. But if we go back in their life or their journey, you see that, that happened because of something that they weren't getting, like Sammy at 8 years old.
Yeah.
So there is, that too. But it's a great organization to just say, let's not forget about them. Men, like when I said, when they come out, the Second Chance Act allows them to get a second chance. They can't ask these questions anymore of, have you ever been convicted of a crime? Because what happens when they ask that question is, you check yes, they know I'm not going to get the job now. Right. So some of them lie, and then it comes back that you the application, so we can't trust you.
Yeah.
But then it's like, if I admit,
I won't get the job.
I still won't get the job.
Yeah.
And so it's just, we as a public, we need to be better informed and to really try to support and push for these policies to rehabilitate. We're the wealthiest country in the world, and our prison system is horrible. It's horrible. It is its own business, and it is unfair that the way that it's set up, especially against Black and brown people, it's horrible. And we really need to do a better job of educating the public so that the public knows what laws to vote for when we're voting, and how to go and sign for laws to be changed, because they were written so far back that they have not evolved with the way the world is today. Yeah. I mean, so much, but I just hope that I'll get off my little box right now and just say that I hope that everyone would look up Prison Fellowship and see how you can help. Yeah. And the first way you can help is praying. Mm. It's the most easiest and most effective way of helping is prayer. Praying for those inmates. They are people. They bleed the same way we do. They have organs just like we do. They deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. Because when you treat someone with dignity and respect, they do better. And that's why the culture in the prison is the way it is because they're not treated with dignity and respect. They're treated as scum, not fit to be on the bottom of people's shoes.
Yeah.
They believe that, and they just keep working that into everybody that comes in there. And you kill someone.
You
Literally,
kill
in
them.
their mind,
Exactly.
in
Yeah.
their mind. So I'm so against young kids going to prison. You know, I'm against that. I'm more for them going to a rehabilitation program like Youth for Tomorrow, which is how I met Brother Sammy, which is a great program that helps kids not get into the prison system.
Mm.
It gives them a second chance. It says, let me take them. They go into this program, and it's a Christian organization run by Joe Gibbs, started by Joe Gibbs, and they are rehabilitated.
Mm.
So they're serving, but not in that prison setting.
Right.
And again, I'll go back to Central Park 5. The difference between the 5th kid and the 4, he was tried as an adult because he was 17, or maybe he was 18, and the others were younger. And he didn't even get arrested initially. He never got arrested. He was going to support his friend who got arrested. And he said, I can't let you go down to the precinct by yourself because your mama will have my head. So let me go down there with you. I'll wait in the waiting room until they finish questioning you and we can go home together. Because the police were so corrupt, they needed a 5th person. And so they said, oh, there's that kid in the waiting room. Let's grab him. And that's what they did. And so his story is so different, and the abuse that he sustained because of being tried as an adult versus an adolescent. And it messed with his brain.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that we need to have more of those rehabilitation services that teaches skills and like how to train kids to be able to like have a trade, or there's things that they're not taught clearly, or that they're not exposed to, or that they don't have access to, that I think that would help make them better for society, rather than just making it continue to dig deeper into a worse hole. So
I'd like us to find a way to stop glorifying the things that are of prison mentalities.
Yeah.
And like get rid of that World Star website that these kids go on, and they think it's great when someone's getting beat up to video.
Yeah.
And let's not glorify that. Let's not glorify wearing your pants behind your kneecaps. Like, they do that in jail because they don't have a belt. But in the world, you have a belt. Put your belt on. Pull your pants up. You can buy the right size. They can't do that. Then in our society, we glorify, and then these young kids, they think that this is great. This is so good. Robbing people's grandmothers. Like, that's someone's grandmother. Could have been yours. And so I just hope that we can catch the youth, but also to know that even for those that are older that are in prison and coming out, they deserve a second chance.
Hope. Yeah.
They deserve a second chance. Everyone deserves a second chance. I don't know where people think that we get one shot.
And everyone deserves the resources to be able to do well with that second chance.
That's right. That's right. Everyone deserves those resources to do well, because everyone should be set up for success.
Exactly. And the way the world is set up is not set up that way, especially, like you said, for Black and brown people. It's not.
We got to do better. And the way we can all do better starting right now is praying.
Yeah.
Praying.
Yeah.
We got to start shaking up some things.
Shake it up. Shake it up. So I hope that you guys are praying into this matter, and like Lillian said, looking into ways that you can be voting and volunteering and really just helping make a change. It starts with us. It starts with our faith that it can be so. So we want to thank Sammy again for being a part of this podcast. It was such a great conversation, as per usual. Blessed me so much. And thank you guys for listening to the after show.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Have an amazing week, and we'll see you next week.
Ciao.